Morning everyone, this is Jyoti Gautam, your science teacher, and today we'll be starting with a new chapter, that is cell, the fundamental unit of life. Now, as the word suggests, the fundamental unit of life or the basic unit of life, cell is actually the smallest unit of any living body or the living organism. We can easily relate cell with a brick. Likewise, the brick is the main structural organization or the structural composition of a building or any infrastructure. Similarly, the cell is the main unit which constitute a whole living organism or the whole living world. So if we define cell, we can easily define it as cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Now the question arises, why it is structural and why it is a functional unit of life? So if I take example of liver is an organ, and liver organ is made up of small liver cells known as hepatocytes. The other name of liver is hepatic, and the liver cell are known as hepatocytes. So if I talk about the function of liver, the main function of liver is detoxification, and the detoxification function of liver is because of the liver cells, that is the hepatocytes. So the liver cell decides the function of that organ. Okay. Similarly, if I talk about the brain, its main power to think, to reason is because of the nerve cells. The whole nervous system depends on the nerve cells or the neurons. So function of, if I talk about any of the system, function of circulatory system, function of nervous system, skeletal system, they all depends on the cells. Circulatory system depends on the blood cell, nervous system depends on the neurons or the nerve cells. Okay, so cell decides the function, and that is known as, and just because it's known as the functional unit. Now moving on, why it is a structural unit? Because any living organism, the main structure is because of the cell only. If I talk about my fingers, my eyes, or any of my body part, so the composition or the structure is made up of only because of the cell. The cell there decides what would be the shape of eye, what would be the shape of a leaf, okay, be it plant cell or animal cell. Now cell, it is present in both animals as well as plant. There are some difference in between the animal cells and the plant cell. Now if I talk about the cell, it is derived from a Latin word, not an English word, it's a Latin word known as cellulae. Okay, I'll just write it down, cellulae. Now, this cellulae word, it basically means small room or small blocks. Okay, that means if you observe cell, it resembles to a small room or a small block. Okay, now, yes, observation of cell could be only possible with the help of this, miraculous device known as the microscope. Microscope, could be compound or simple microscope. The compound microscope is mainly used for observing cell, and it consists of an eyepiece, an objective, and a condenser. Here we put the slide in which we put cell or the different whatever we want to observe, we put it here only in a slide, and by using this eyepiece and by using these objective glasses, we can easily observe a cell. Okay, now the first cell is observed by the Robert Hooke in 1665. He observed a thin slice of a cork of a tree or a bark of a tree, and he observed the honeycomb structure. The honeycomb structure of a, जैसे मधुमक्खी का छत्ता होता है उसका स्ट्रक्चर होता है, similarly cell का structure what Robert Hooke observed resembles to that of a honeycomb. Okay, but if somebody asks you who discovered the first living cell, so the answer would not be the Robert Hooke, because the first living cell is discovered by the Anton von Leeuwenhoek. I'll write down the name of the in last slide. Write down the name of the scientist in the last slide. So Anton von Leeuwenhoek, he is the scientist who discovered the first living cell, the first bacterial cell. On the other hand, Robert Hooke, he discovered the first cell, but that cell was a dead cell because it comes from a cork or a bark of a tree, which is again a dead part. Now, if we talk about what is cell biology is that branch of science which basically deals with the cell or its organelles and basically studies the cell. Okay, now if we talk about the organisms, we simply divide organism into two broad categories depending on the number of cell present in them. The first one is the unicellular and the second one is the multicellular organism. The unicellular, as the name suggests, unicell. Uni means one. That means those organisms in which the total number of cell is just one. Though these organisms, they perform almost all activities, but the number of cell present in them is one. So unicellular organisms are basically the small organism or the primitive organisms like the amoeba, the chlamydomonas, paramecium. Okay, the basic small organisms. Moving on to the multicellular organism. Multi means many and cellular means cell. So organism in which there are so many cells, they are multi-cell, not just one and two. They contain almost million trillions of cells. They are known as multicellular organism. And multicellular organisms are the higher organisms, like the animals, the plants, fungi, human beings. These are the multicellular organisms. Now, we can also divide or we can also classify cell into two main categories like the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. And likewise, we can classify organisms on these two bases as well. The organism which contain prokaryotic or the primitive cell, they are again unicellular or the smaller organism, and the higher organisms generally have the eukaryotic type of cell. Now, moving on to the comparative differentiation, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. To make it simple, let us just break the word. Prokaryotic. Prokaryote is made up of two words, pro and karyon. 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 So pro basically means primitive and karyon is a common word, root word which means nucleus. Similarly, we break down the word eukaryotic. It is made up of two words, eu, that means EU, and karyon. Eu means true and karyon means again nucleus. So if we differentiate, the prokaryotic cell are those cells in which the nucleus is primitive or the old nucleus, or not well defined, not proper nucleus. On the other hand, in eukaryotic, the nucleus is very well defined or it's a true nucleus, the modern day nucleus which have a proper cell wall or a proper nuclear wall. Okay. In case of prokaryotic, the nucleus does not have a proper nuclear wall. The nuclear wall is diminished or disappeared. On the other hand, the eukaryotic, it has proper nuclear wall. Okay, these points are interchanged. In prokaryotic, the cell organelles are normally absent. There are not so many cell organelles. On the other hand, the eukaryotic, it consists of almost all cell organelles, the complex cell organelles like the mitochondria, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum. We'll be discussing about these cell organelles in a further slides. In prokaryotic, the DNA that is the basic genetic material of a cell, deoxyribonucleic acid. The DNA is circular in prokaryotic. On the other hand, in eukaryotic, the DNA is linear and thread-like structure. Okay. The example of prokaryotic cell is the bacterial cells. On the other hand, the eukaryotic cells, almost all multicellular organisms are basically cells of almost all multicellular organisms are eukaryotic. So, if we talk about the multicellular organism, there is one more characteristic, that means the multicellular organisms, they have eukaryotic cell. On the other hand, the unicellular organisms like amoeba, they have one cell, and as well as the one cell is of prokaryotic type. That means its nucleus is not well defined. So hope it's clear. Now, in human body, we have so many different types of cell, like our nerve cell, fat cells which store fat, then the bone cell known as the osteocytes, sperm, blood cell, and the ovum or the egg. If I talk about some of the key points or the star points which are very important in this chapter, is the smallest living cell on the world. The smallest living cell is the PPLO. I'll just write down the name. PPLO. This PPLO is the pleuropneumonia-like organism. Pleuropneumonia-like organism. I'll just give all these exceptions and full forms in a separate text to you. PPLO or the mycoplasma is the smallest living cell on the universe, the world, and PPLO means pleuropneumonia-like organism. If I talk about the largest cell in the world or the earth is the ostrich egg. जो ऑस्ट्रिच का एग होता है वो सबसे ज़्यादा बड़ा सिंगल सेल होता है. इट्स अ सिंगल सेल एंड अ सिंगल ऑस्ट्रिच एग कैन मेक ऑलमोस्ट 20 ऑमलेट्स. सो इट इज़ द लार्जेस्ट सेल. In human body, if I talk about the longest cell is the nerve cell. The longest cell is the nerve cell. Okay, so these are some of the cells which basically perform different body functions. The nerve cell, they perform the neuro functions, helps in signaling and conduction. Bone cell, they basically helps in the skeleton of a body. The ovum and the sperm, these are the gametes or the reproductive cell, help in the reproduction. Blood cell, they basically carries oxygen and the different nutrients in a tissue, in a connective tissue known as the blood. So cell, if I talk about the basic structure of a cell is more or less of a semicircular, or like, it's not fixed. The shape of a cell is not fixed. The plant cell is more or less of a circular shape, and the animal cell is more or less of a circular shape, and the other hand the plant cell is more or less like a rectangular shape. So the cell, it basically consists of three main compositions or three main parts. The first one is cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Then the cytoplasm, the center filled space of a cell, and then the nucleus. Okay, the cytoplasm consists of different cell organelles. Now, the shape and size of a cell depends on the function they perform. It is not necessary that an elephant consists of a large cell and a rat consists of a small cell. ऐसा नहीं होता. The amount of function and the type of function decides the size and shape of a cell. Every living cell has the capacity to perform basic functions. Even the unicellular organism, which consists of one cell, they perform all the activities like that of a multicellular organism. So every cell have that capability to perform basic functions. Cell contain of specific component known as the cell organelles. Cell organelles are so many and they vary from plants to animal, and each kind of cell organelle perform a specific function. We'll be discussing it in further slide, that each cell organelle have its own specific function. If I talk about mitochondria, it has some different function. We can easily relate mitochondria with the powerhouse concept. If we talk about the vacuole, have different function. Golgi bodies, they have different function. So every cell organelle have a different function, and all cells are found to have same organelles irrespective of the function and in which organism they are found. Yes, almost all cells, the organelles are more or less same. That means mitochondria, Golgi bodies, that means in human also, in plants also, in rat also, or in any other organism, kangaroos, bat, the cell consists of these organelles only. Okay, then moving on to the main part of cell, that is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Membrane is basically a structure which surrounds a body. So cell, if I talk about cell, be it animal cell or plant cell, it is surrounded by a protective layering or a protective a shield known as the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Okay, and it is the outermost covering of the cell that separate the content of cell from the external environment. That means cell membrane is a membrane which separates the cytoplasm and the internal organs and the nucleus from the outer environment of a cell. It is like a protective covering. Okay, now this cell membrane contains small pores which easily help the transfer or transportation of materials in and out of the cell. The cell membrane is semi-permeable in nature. Now permeability means when a thing can easily pass on from it, like a sieve, channi ki tarah. And semi-permeable is selectively permeable. It allows some things to move out easily and it blocks some of the things depending on the pore size. So cell membrane, it allow the entry and exit of material in and out of the cell, and it also prevent the movement of some other material, and that is because it is known as selectively permeable membrane. If I talk about example of a sieve, जैसे छन्नी होती है, the sieve, it easily allows the liquid portion or the tea portion or the water portion to move out, but won't allow the tea particles or the ginger particles to move out. So that is again a selectively permeable membrane, which allows some particles to move out and block some particles. Similarly, the plasma membrane is also selectively permeable. The plasma membrane is flexible and made up of organic molecules like proteins and lipids. Yes, the main composition of plasma membrane is lipids and protein. And a scientist, Singer and Nicholson, he gave the plasma membrane model known as the lipid bilayer model. That means if I talk about the structure or a complexity or complex structure of a plasma membrane, it is more like a lipid bilayer. Lipid means fats. Lipid bilayer model means we are having two different chains of lipid, and in between those two chains we have the protein known as the integral protein, and the outside the lipid membrane we have extrinsic protein. So lipid, this is a complex portion which is not again in your syllabus, but just to give you an idea about how do this cell membrane look like. So it look like a lipid bilayer membrane which consists of protein, intrinsic as well as the extrinsic protein, and two different complex chains of lipid. Now the cell membrane, it allows the movement of particles, be it the gaseous particle or the liquid particle. It easily allowed the movement of particles. Now there are two concepts, the diffusion and the osmosis. Diffusion is the gaseous exchange which take place from a region of higher concentration to a lower concentration. In this diagram, you can easily see that here the number of particles, the number of solute particle is more, and here the number of particles are less. So the net movement of particle is from higher concentration to lower concentration. So the overall gaseous movement, the gaseous exchange which take place from a higher concentration region to a lower concentration region is known as diffusion. Now this diffusion you have almost seen everywhere. आपने ये डेली लाइफ के एग्जाम्पल में भी देखा होगा. Whenever we lighten up a incense stick, जब भी हम अगरबत्ती जलाते हैं, इंसेंस स्टिक को जलाते हैं, एक कॉर्नर से दूसरे कॉर्नर तक उसकी जो फ्रेगनेंस का ट्रेवल होता है, इट इज़ सो वेरी इजी बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रोसेस ऑफ डिफ्यूजन. Why it is possible? Because whenever we lighten up an incense stick, at that portion the concentration of solute becomes higher. So it in the air only. So it occupies the interparticle space which we have already learned in our chemistry chapter. It uses that interparticular space of air and easily move from the higher concentration to lower concentration and can easily spread. This happens again with the deodorants and other fragrances, which easily spread from one part to another part depending on its concentration. Now moving on to the osmosis. Osmosis is again a concept where there is movement of particle, but here is the movement of water particle from region of higher water concentration to a lower water concentration. But the exception is there is a presence of semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane is present, and in the presence of semi-permeable membrane only, here is a semi-permeable membrane, the water molecule, they move from this higher concentration to this lower concentration. So this is known as osmosis. ROs, the water purifiers, they are again based on this concept only, because RO, they are known as reverse osmosis. They are the forced reverse osmosis, which again used for purifying the water. Now if we talk about the difference between the diffusion and the osmosis, diffusion can occur in any medium. On the other hand, the osmosis, it occurs only in the liquid medium. Diffusion won't require any semi-permeable membrane. There is no requirement of semi-permeable membrane. On the other hand, the osmosis, it requires the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, that means in osmosis there is selective movement. All particles cannot move easily. There is selective movement because of the semi-permeable membrane. Now, the movement of particle depends also on the amount of solute and solvent, and on the basis of this only we divide the solutions into three main categories: the hypotonic solution, the isotonic solution, and the hypertonic solution. Before going into the complexities of these three solutions, let me recapitulate the concept of solution. Solution is a homogeneous mixture which consists of two main parts, that is the solute and the solvent. Solution में दो चीजें होती हैं, solute and solvent. Solute is that part which is present in a less amount and which is to be dissolved. On the other hand, solvent is generally present in a larger amount and it is the main medium in which we dissolve solute. Okay, so if we talk about the hypotonic solution, hypo means less. Hypo is a word which basically means कम होना, less. So hypotonic solution is a solution in which the amount of solute in the solution is less. That means अगर हमारे पास ये बीकर है और यहाँ पे एक सेल है, तो ये एक सेल है, तो इस सेल के आउटर जो इन्वायरमेंट है, ये इस सेल का जो आउटर इन्वायरमेंट है, इसमें जो अमाउंट ऑफ सॉल्यूट होगा वो क्या होगा, कम होगा, हाइपो होगा. अमाउंट ऑफ सॉल्यूट कम होगा और सॉल्वेंट ज़्यादा होगा. आउटर सॉल्यूशन में क्या हो रहा है, अमाउंट ऑफ सॉल्यूट तो कम है लेकिन सॉल्वेंट ज़्यादा है. ऑन द अदर हैंड सेल में क्या है, सेल में सॉल्वेंट कम है, सॉल्यूट ज़्यादा है. सो द नेट मूवमेंट वाटर का कैसे होगा, द नेट मूवमेंट फ्रॉम हायर वाटर कंसंट्रेशन लोअर वाटर कंसंट्रेशन. वाटर की कंसंट्रेशन ज़्यादा कहाँ पर है, यहाँ पर है. यहाँ पे सॉल्यूट का कंसंट्रेशन कम है, वाटर की कंसंट्रेशन ज़्यादा है. यहाँ पे सॉल्यूट की कंसंट्रेशन ज़्यादा है, सॉल्वेंट की कम है. सो वाटर विल मूव फ्रॉम, टेक अनदर कलर, सो वाटर विल मूव फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड, दैट मीन्स द सॉल्यूशन इनसाइड द सेल. यहाँ बाहर से सेल के अंदर वाटर का मूवमेंट होगा. एंड वेन एवर द वाटर मूव फ्रॉम द सराउंडिंग इनसाइड द सेल स्वेल्स अप. जो सेल है वो क्या हो जाएगा, इट स्वेल्स अप. The best example of a hypotonic solution is whenever we put raisins into a normal water. Raisins they generally have high solute concentration. Raisins में जो sweet होता है, जो मिठास होती है, जो solutes होते हैं उसमें complex carbohydrate, उसकी concentration ज़्यादा होती है as compared to the normal water. Okay, so what will happen whenever we put raisin into a normal water? The normal water, the water concentration is higher, but the solute concentration is low. So what will happen? The water will move from the surrounding outside the cell towards the inside, which results in swelling up of raisin. जिससे जो हमारी किशमिश है या चने हैं, जो भी हैं हमारे मूंग्स, वो क्या होती है, स्वेलिंग हो आती है उनकी. Okay, so the water molecules are free to pass across the cell membrane in both the direction. Water can move in both the directions as well as, but more water will come into the cell than will leave the cell. जो पानी है वो ज़्यादा बाहर से अंदर आएगा सेल के अंदर एज कम्पेयर. सो देर इज़ अ डुअल डायरेक्शनल रिफ्लक्स ऑफ सॉल्वेंट. जो वाटर है हमारा या सॉल्यूट है वो दोनों डायरेक्शन में मूव करेगा. लेकिन अगर हम कंपैरिजन में देखें तो पानी बाहर से अंदर ज़्यादा आएगा एंड इट रिजल्ट इन द स्विंग अप ऑफ. आपने देखा होगा जब भी हम किशमिश सोक करते हैं, और यू कैन ट्राई दिस एक्सपेरिमेंट टुडे एज वेल. जब भी हम किशमिश सोक करते हैं आप पानी में, तो जो पानी होता है वो थोड़ा सा मीठा हो जाता है एंड किशमिश जो है फूल जाती है. क्यों होता है? क्योंकि अगेन हायर कंसंट्रेशन से लोअर कंसंट्रेशन की तरफ वाटर का मूवमेंट है. ओके, देन इज द आइसोटोनिक सोल्यूशन. आइसो मीन्स सेम. आइसो इज अगेन अ वर्ड विच मीन्स सेम. आइसोटोनिक सोल्यूशन मीन्स a solution in which the amount of solute and solvent inside and outside the cell is same. When the medium surrounding a cell has the same concentration of water as that in the cell, it is said to be isotonic. Now here the water crosses the membrane in both the direction. अब यहाँ पे जो water का movement होगा ये भी again bi-directional होगा, inside and outside. But just because the concentration is same, so the pace of movement is again the same. So overall there is no water movement and the size of the cell it remains the same. अगर अंदर और बाहर जो amount of concentration of solute and solvent है वो same है तो water movement तो होगा, but there is no remarkable difference in the size of the cell. क्योंकि जो मूवमेंट होगा वो मोर और लेस दोनों डायरेक्शन में सेम होगा. तो the cell, it will remain in the same size. Okay, so isotonic solution means a solution in which the concentration of solute inside and outside the cell is same. Then is the hypertonic solution. Hyper word always means large or many, more. So hypertonic solution is a solution in which the amount of solute is more outside the cell, and obviously when the amount of solute is more, the solvent amount is less outside the cell, and inside the cell the solvent amount is more and solute amount is less. So what will happen, जहाँ पे ज़्यादा कंसंट्रेशन होगी वहाँ से बाहर की तरफ मूवमेंट होगा ज़्यादा. Movement occurs in both direction again in this, but as the water or the solute concentration is more inside the cell, the more water will move in from cell to the surrounding. So this will result in the overall shrinkage of the cell. This will happen when we put something in a salt water. अगर हम high salt water में कुछ भी soak करते हैं, तो what will happen in salt water, the salt or the solute is more, amount of solute is more, that is a hypertonic solution as compared to the amount of solute inside the cell. So water will move out from that cell to the surrounding and result in the shrinkage. So I just hope that the hypertonic, isotonic and the hypertonic type of solution is clear to all of you. Now again the concept of plasmolysis. This plasmolysis is basically a phenomena which is observed in plants only. This is again a concept which is observed when the solution is of a hypertonic type. Then the shrinkage of cell because of the loss of water because of osmosis. जब ऑस्मोसिस की वजह से हाइपरटोनिक सोल्यूशन में होने के बाद जो सेल का साइज श्रिंक हो जाता है उसको बोलते हैं हम प्लाज्मोलाइसिस, एंड मेनली अकर्स इन केस ऑफ प्लांट्स ओनली. Then is the other part of a cell, that is cell wall, and cell wall is present only in plant cell. Mind that concept, cell wall is present only in plant cell, it is absent in the animal cell. Now the question arises, when there is a cell membrane or a plasma membrane, what is the need of a cell wall? जब प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन और सेल मेम्ब्रेन हमारे पास है तो सेल वॉल की ज़रूरत क्या है? Yes, cell wall is an extra protective covering which is present outside the cell membrane in case of plant cell, and it is because to provide them more rigidity, more stability and more turbidity to the plant cell. Like animals, we live in a more or less protective environment, but the plants, they have to withstand all the harsh weather environmental condition. So for protecting the plants from all the harsh weather environmental condition, the nature has already the nature has given them an extra protective layering in the form of a cell wall. It is a hard outer covering and it is present outside the cell membrane, composed of cellulose, again a complex carbohydrate. Cellulose is complex structure which provides the strength. So the main function of cell wall is to provide strength so that they can withstand all the harsh weather environmental condition, be it rain, be it so much of heat, be it cold. So cell wall is present in plants that can help the plant to withstand the environmental conditions. Then moving on to the other part of a cell, that is the nucleus. The nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown, not Robert Hooke, Robert Brown. Nucleus is again a double layer structure. Nucleus contains of two layers, the outer nuclear membrane and the inner nuclear membrane. And you'll be so surprised to know that even these nuclear membranes, they have pores like that of the cell wall and cell membrane. जैसे कि cell membrane में pores होते हैं, वैसे ही nuclear membrane में भी pores होते हैं for movement of again the particles and the molecules in and out of the nucleus. The nuclear membrane has pore which allow the transfer of material from inside to the outside of a cytoplasm. Okay, nucleus, it contains the main genetic material of a cell, that is the DNA. It contains chromosomes which are again the rod shape of structures, and these chromosomes, they contain DNA bands. Chromosome contain information for the inheritance of feature from parent to the next generation in the form of DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. deoxyribonucleic acid. That means the DNA is the main, prerequisite or the main component which gets transferred from a parent body to a daughter body or parent body to a offspring, and it is the main thing which is responsible for the traits or the features. This is the thing which gets transferred from one organism to another organism, and that DNA is present inside the nucleus. And likewise, the overall human body is governed by a brain. So brain is the main part or the main boss of our body. Similarly, if I talk about the cell, the nucleus is the main part, that is the boss of a cell. So whenever the concept come, what do you mean by the boss of a cell, the answer is obviously the nucleus, because it is known as boss of the cell because it consists of what? The DNA, the genetic material. Then comes the cytoplasm. Cyto means cell and plasm means the fluid filled structure. It is the fluid content inside the plasma membrane, which is basically a jelly like of structure, and it helps in the prevention of a shock or any stress to the body. This cytoplasm, it contains specialized cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. Cytoplasm is present in both animal cell as well as the plant cells. Okay, and cytoplasm is basically present outside the nucleus and inside the cell membrane. जो हमारी सेल मेम्ब्रेन होती है उसके अंदर साइटोप्लाज्म होता है एंड न्यूक्लियर मेम्ब्रेन के बाहर होता है. Okay, let me add one more concept, that is protoplasm. I'll just write it down here. Protoplasm. Protoplasm. Okay, so protoplasm basically means a sum of or a total of cytoplasm plus nucleoplasm. The jelly-like structure present inside the cell is cytoplasm, and the plasma-like or the jelly-like structure present inside the nucleus is nucleoplasm. So protoplasm is total, the cytoplasm as well as the nucleoplasm. Then is the concept of cell organelles. Cell organelles could be of different like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, vacuole, peroxisomes. Okay, so we'll be discussing about these cell organelles in detail in our further lectures. So I hope this concept is clear to you. Thank you so much.